Hello and welcome
Hi,
back
hi.
to Strongwoman High's Dash. Life's a mishmash. Today we have a very special guest all the way from very sunny Scotland at the moment, Willow Brady, the natty under 64 queen. Welcome to the show, Willow. Do you want to give everyone a little bit of an elevator pitch of who you are, what you're all about, all that jazz?
Yeah, so I was the original 57, and then I moved up, and now I'm just another 64, scrambling to make it onto whatever podium I can in the natural scene primarily. Yeah, don't know really how I ended up in Strongman, but here I am, like the rest of us, consumed by it.
Yep, made it an entire personality.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I've got a wee gym in Edinburgh. It's not strictly strongman. It's like mostly gym pop and stuff, but we do have strongman kit and whatnot there. So that's my job.
Yep. Well, your job is that you are a very good strongman coach. Well, Gen Pop coach
Thank
and strongman coach, aren't you?
you. Yeah, I mostly coach strongman, but the gym's like my home, my second home. So it's a fun thing to manage, and we've got a good team there, etc.
It's a very nice gym. It's one of, to be fair, it is one of my favourite gyms to go in and train at in Edinburgh.
Oh, thank
I
you.
much enjoy. Um, well, guess we'll get straight into it. What's been your strong woman eye?
Strong woman hack. Do you know what? See, when you sent me this, I was like, it took me so long to think of one, and then you sent me the strong woman loads, and I was like, right, we got this.
Hundreds
We
of
got
them.
That's so bad. Do you know what? See, when I started Strongman, I kind of threw myself right in at the deep end, so I don't really get the chance to like have fun with it. I know it sounds silly, like because it is fun, but it was like zero to hero. So yeah, so I didn't really get the chance to kick back and like just enjoy. So I did a team competition. This would have been like 2023, and it was so much fun. And anytime I get a bit lost in my training, and I think, oh, like yeah, anytime it just gets a bit intense, I think, oh, remember how great you were on the team comp when you were just having fun? Because I just had such a laugh, and I think I pulled like a 5 kilo PB in the warm up on my deadlifts, and then I did like a 7.5 kilo PB on my log when I was like 60 kilos, and I was just like having the best time. And so yeah, having a laugh with friends and stuff. That was definitely the best comp I've done, and definitely the high.
Yeah, you're in a bit of a unique situation, aren't you? Because your strong woman progression was basically you started and then you were at international, national level competitions from the offset, weren't you? So you're
Yeah, it was a weird one. I actually kind of skipped even Scotland's because I went into it injured. Like I fucked my back just before, so I just did a rep on the log. There were only three of us, so all I needed to do was rep on the log to qualify, and then I went to UK's, and that was like my first proper comp was the UK finals. So yeah, it was all very serious. And then I did the team comp, and I was like, this is not very serious.
yeah, 100%. So I think it's quite interesting that you've come in at like such a high level. Obviously, like to do with the numbers dropping off in Scotland is like the sort of main issue that you had there, but it's an interesting sort of viewpoint that you're going to have that you had to almost take it really seriously, like because your first real comp really was UK. So how did you feel like going into that comp?
Do you know what? When I look back, like I think it was almost a blessing that I didn't really know what was expected of me, or like I didn't really know what the standard was, had no idea who the other names on the list were. There were a couple of girls in my category, a girl called Davina and Aileen. You probably know Aileen, she still competes, both doing the 57. So I knew a little bit about what they were doing in training, and we were all training with the same coach as well at the time. So I was asking him, like, what are they doing on this? What are they doing on that? But
Yeah.
outside of that, like, I kind of just went in all guns blazing without, yeah, the kind of like bliss of ignorance, I suppose. But I am like a very intense, I would say I'm quite an intense person by nature, and I'm quite competitive. So I don't know if it was necessarily like healthy, as well as it being like a new category, it was like quite easy, like it's much more dense now, so it's going to get harder and harder for people to do well. But I don't know if it
Yeah.
was necessarily the best thing for my personal growth to do well like fast. I almost wish I'd like went into a couple of like open weight novice comps, even where there were like, girls who were much heavier than me who definitely would have beat me. Yeah, even at like some events.
Yeah. And so how long had you been training before you did like the comps? How long have you been training strongman? How long have you been training just general gym fitness? Like, what's your background? Because you can't just come into strongman and be mint, you know.
Step back. Whoa there. So to be honest, I was probably doing strongman training for like 2 months or something, but
Wow.
I have been like training my whole life, I suppose. So I guess it depends what you call training. I've definitely had the phase where I'm like the girl in the gym on the stairmaster doing like sideways like kicks and like booty
Yeah,
bands and stuff. Had that phase. But I also had like martial arts. I did a lot of like aerial stuff, so pole dance, the hoop business,
yeah,
hockey, rugby. So I've kind of done a bit of everything.
yeah. What sort of martial arts did you do?
I did a bit of capoeira back in the day, so very flowy.
Ooh,
When I
very
was really
nice.
young, like my mum's a raging hippie, so there was a lot of raging hippie sports, and
Class.
I did karate. That was like the main one.
Nice, yeah. I'm on my martial arts journey now. I've just started
Oh,
BJJ
nice.
this year, and I love it. It's really taken the focus off of strongman for me. I'm like, this is shit. You know what I'd like to do? Wrestle people instead. This is much more fun.
I'm sure
But
I've seen you wrestling people in like a sumo costume as well. So it was it was always going to happen.
it was bound to happen. Yeah, that was actually at my wedding because we hired some sumo suits and then just beat each other up all day. It was class fun.
That sounds so good.
I'm
So
saying
good.
if anyone's ever getting married, I would highly recommend getting sumo suits or gladiator duel because it really is good crack, especially when you're smashed.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And you got your
Loads of
wedding
fun.
dress on as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like that I wasn't bothered. It was 14 quid off of vintage, so I was willing to like wreck that. I didn't care at all. It was class. But super cool. So you've got quite a big background in like training then. And what do you think the
Yeah.
thing was that sort of brought you into like strongman and sort of getting involved and going straight into some big comps?
So I was a PT at the time and I was looking for a coach basically who could help me be a better coach. I wanted to get better at programming and whatnot. And somehow I stumbled upon Stephen's profile, who's GBA Strongman for anyone listening and doesn't know his name. You'll have seen him maybe on Instagram under that. Stephen's now my partner. But anyway, I was looking for a PT, an online coach at the time, stumbled upon Stephen's page and decided he seemed like he was kind of knew what he was talking about. I was obviously completely wrong. Um, I went to him for some coaching, just general strength and powerlifting. I just wanted to, as I say, get stronger, get a bit more knowledgeable. And then I started training at his gym here and there, just dropping in, and I was seeing all these girls doing mad shit. And it was maybe like a year later, I said to him like, "Oh, why haven't you asked me if I want to do strongman yet?" Because everyone was doing it, and I said, "Is it because I'm not strong enough?" And he was like, "No, don't be an idiot." So I basically asked him to ask me to try strongman.
Yeah,
Um, this is well before we're together or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. Really and truly, I just saw cool stuff happening. It looked diverse. I think I spent a lot of time trying to find like my thing, in primarily a classic like early 20s way, but also because I hadn't really found anything that ticked all the boxes. Like I was always doing a few things at a time. Like I was running half marathons and playing rugby and pole dancing at the same time. So one, I wasn't getting stronger. I was injured as fuck, but
hmm,
none of them were really satisfying. And then when I started training strongman, I was like, cool. So I still get to be in the gym all the time, which I loved, but I get to run, I get to sprint, and do cool fast things too.
yeah, yeah. I think that's why a lot of people get into strongman because it's like a very strong version of CrossFit, really, isn't it? Like there's a big focus on strength, but you have to be an athlete, and especially in the weight classes, like you'll know better than me. Like you have to be strong, but you also have to be fast as fuck. And training both them things together, while they don't really go hand in hand, it makes training a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's just diverse, isn't it? And even with the events being completely different for every competition. If I'm honest, I don't think I even really knew what it was. I just saw people. I think sandbags. I was like, oh, that looks cool, and I think I was inspired by some of the other girls in the gym. They were small like me as well, a
Yeah,
few of them, and I thought like, yeah, give me a slice of that.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. I love how people get into strongman. It's
Is it
usually
same for
such a little.
you? You just
Well,
kind of.
yeah, I wanted to do bodybuilding. Me, I joined a gym because I wanted to get jacked. I wanted to be, I wanted
Yes,
to
you're
be a
a
unit.
fish.
Yeah, and then I very quickly realised I have to do a lot of dieting in bodybuilding. I was like, oh, no, I hate that. Don't do that at all. And yeah, it was Atlas stones for me that got me into it. Like there was Atlas stones in the gym that I trained at, and I started messing about with them. And I remember one of the lads being like, "You won't be able to pick the 80 up; it's well hard." And like after about 2 sessions, I managed to get it and pick it up and put it over the bar. And I was
Nice.
like, "Right, this is for me. I like
Yeah.
this. Like more of this, please.
Fuck
Whatever this is."
bodybuilding.
Yeah, I was like, "No, I'm not bothered about bodybuilding anymore. I just want to be strong and huge." So
In fairness to bodybuilding, it gets a lot of people into the gym. Like more power to body. I don't think people are acknowledging enough that pretty much everyone starts because they're like, I'm gonna get ripped,
yeah,
and then they do like, oh god, I probably did like 30 sets of like glute exercises and lunges and stuff, like
yeah.
silly volume on like, oh, just pointless
It
fluff.
does. It does create a massive base. I feel like because for ages I was just training with a group of lads who were all doing bodybuilder training, and because I didn't know any different, I was like, well, this is how I train. This is how I do it. So until I got like a proper strongman coach, all my training was just bodybuilder style. But I feel like I'd hit a 60 kilo press doing it with the bodybuilders, like before I'd started doing strongman. Like that was the thing. I didn't even know it was 60 kilos. We were just like, we just need one plate. If you can press one plate, you'll be sound. And I was like, yeah, let's go. It's
I
working for
love
that
that
one plate.
environment though. It's just like brute force and ignorance. It's brilliant.
100%. I was like blacking out a lot of the time when I was training, just on them like final sets, like go until failure. And I'm like, oh God, I'm dying. But I think
That's
it
how
made
you
a
get
massive
gritty though.
difference.
Maxing
Yeah.
out on a leg press.
100%, 100%, and you can gain a lot of strength doing that. And I think as
Yeah.
well, like the aesthetic side works really well for people to get people in because I know that I didn't care about being strong. Like I had no idea about my level of strength, about anything when I first started. All I wanted to do was look better, and then I love that progression that people have where they're like, I just want to look better. I just want to like be happy in my body. And then you start getting a bit stronger and you're like, fucking, I don't care about this. Do you know what I care about? Pressing more,
Yeah.
doing more, like being actually stronger. Like, I don't really care about how I look anymore. Like that's gone out the fucking window. But like clearly, but like at the time, I was like, fucking yes. The minute I realized that I wasn't focusing on what I looked like and I was just bothered about my strength and my ability to do competitions, I was so much happier in my body.
Yeah. It changes your perspective on your body completely because you carry yourself differently. You walk into a room like with your shoulders and your head a bit higher just because you know what you can do. You know you can look after yourself,
Yeah,
especially as a woman. I think, yeah, you're so much more than a wee bit skin here, wee bit
yeah.
fat there.
And it's the confidence that comes with that. I think taking away from you being so worried about what you look like and what other people think you look like to then just being like, yeah, but I know that I'm stronger than you. I
Yeah,
don't care. Like if you think I
yeah.
look a bit chubby, like I can't give a fuck, mate. I can
Actually,
probably
I was
outpress you.
thinking the other day. Do you know what? Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, no, you
Like,
sound.
I'm just like, blah, blah. Um, my mum was so good when I was little. She was like, "You're not wearing makeup. You're not like," and I thought she hated me. I thought she just wanted me to be like the ugliest girl in class because she wouldn't let me put makeup on before school. And what I would do is get my friend to put it on for me at school, and then I'd try and like wipe it off, but I'd come home and I'd still obviously have like streaks of it on my face. And my mum would be like, don't be fucking stupid, like you're beautiful just the way you are, and it doesn't matter and all this stuff. And she was like in her old hippie way, like so adamant that it was irrelevant, you know. And I think that really instilled in me quite a decent amount of like self-worth from quite a young age, and I just think that's quite a nice sentiment.
Oh,
Bit
100%,
of mum wisdom.
100%. Yeah, proper mum wisdom. Yeah, my mum was like that too, but I just ignored her. I was like, shut up. I'll do whatever I want. Got extensions clipped in the back of my head that you can clearly see. Dream Matt
and
Moose all
you're
over. Fucking shut up,
and you're
mum.
still doing it. Shave the head, tattoo the head.
Well, nah, yeah, mum definitely didn't agree to that one. No, she was
Kill
very
yourself,
unhappy.
mum.
Yeah, she wasn't best pleased about the scalp tattoo. She's like, when you're growing your hair out, okay, I'm like, I'm shaving it every day this month. I'm gonna just keep it short. Be all right, mum.
Mother's
I'll
Day.
grow out of this phase eventually. Lol. But no, I totally agree about the self-worth thing, because I feel like I had that progression within strongman as well, and that it was around the same time where I changed from focusing on aesthetics to focusing on strength, and I feel like it gave me the confidence in myself to be like, no, people don't talk to you like shit anymore. Like you are worth something. It don't matter that you don't look like the normal pretty beautiful girl. Like, you still matter. You still like stand for yourself. You can still sort of like have your own back all of the time. And it gave me fucking loads of confidence. I wasn't this much of a knobhead 10 years ago.
Are you saying overconfidence?
Yeah, it's probably giving me overconfidence, to be fair. Yeah, massively shot my ego up. I was like, fucking I'm strong now too, fuck you. But yeah.
No, I think it's definitely something that I wish for everybody, and something that gets me really excited. And honestly, like, I swear, the older I get, the easier it is for me to get tearful. But when I go to a competition and I see wee girls there and they're like dead into it, especially if their mums are doing it and stuff, I'm a mess. I'm a
Yeah.
mess. There's a wee
Yeah.
girl that comes to all the Scotland comps. Oh, I can't remember her name for the life of me. But her parents, Ed and Shawnee, bring her everywhere. And the last comp, she was like, follow me about. She's like, can I get a picture with you? And I was like, I'm a huge deal now.
Yeah.
This wee girl liked what I did today, and that's just, yeah, it's the coolest.
Yeah, it's rewarding, isn't it? Proper
Yeah.
rewarding. Nah, I love that. Right, well, let's move on and ruin this good mood then. What's been your strong woman laws?
Where should I start? No, I'm just joking. You know what? I'm just gonna go with what's been annoying me of late, rather than like, yeah, it's recent. It's more of an ick than anything else. I think it's really uncool in this very small pond of a sport that we're like name dropping and stuff on like commentary, things like that just really bother me. Like, I think it should be all about the people that are there competing. Like, I don't care who else is in the room. I just don't. You see it pretty much at every single competition, and I just think it's bullshit.
Oh, I feel like this is obviously a fairly recent thing that I have not heard
No, it's
about.
not. It's just been boiling up for a while. To be honest, like, ever since I started, it's something that I have noticed. And it's usually because there'll be people at the competition who are doing a really good job, but because like whoever's on the panel maybe doesn't know who they are, they don't really know what to say about them, and so it's easier for them to talk about, like, I don't know, a man that's in the room, like someone who's won something before, or someone who's well known, because they're popular on Instagram, and I just think it's a bit shit.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that. I feel like, because commentary is the difficult thing, and obviously I did a bit of commentating back in the day when I was allowed to. For
Oh,
some
this is
reason,
not targeted, by the way.
no. Well, so just Danny Curtis, it's you.
No one in particular. It's just a general perspective.
I'll call him out. So fuck you, Danny. No, I know what you're saying. I don't think I've really noticed it, but I understand what you're saying, and I think commentary is really difficult because a lot of the time you don't have a lot of information on athletes going into it
No.
unless you know them personally. Like, you do struggle with it, and I know I've struggled with it in the past, but I do agree. I think there's a lot of like, I don't like big name strong men coming to comps and then everyone just focusing on them. That feels like that happens at women's comps sometimes, and they use like, oh, this Giants Live athlete is here, come and see them, and you're like, yeah, but the women
Yeah.
are also competing.
Yeah.
Sort of the
Yeah.
reason we're all here.
Yeah.
So I do get that. Yeah, that's understandable. Just
Yeah,
call
I
them
think
out.
also we should probably like be having people on commentary panels who know enough to comment on like technique and whatnot, so that they don't need to fill that noise by talking about like the big names in the room. But yeah, I guess it probably also is a symptom of it being quite a young sport, let's say,
Yeah,
where you are going to have somebody name who you recognize, at a competition or walking into your gym or whatever. But I suppose I would consider myself quite a down to earth person, and as yeah, and with that in mind, I think it just frustrates me when we kind of put names on a pedestal, or let that detract from it could be novice people there
Yeah.
for the first time. And I think that it doesn't exactly open the doorway for those young people to come in and feel like they're part of it. It can almost push them out as well when there's such a spotlight on these, big names.
Yeah, yeah, I do think I think that's hard. I struggle whenever we get asked to do predictions, and I always find this when I'm on commentary when they're sort of like expecting you to be able to predict your top three or how people are going to do in events, and that's fine if you know the full field, but a lot of the time, like you won't know everybody in that field. There'll be the odd one or two outliers that you haven't seen or are brand new
Yeah.
to the sport,
And
and
they're a freak.
yeah, they're a freak and they catch you out. And like, while it's cool to see, it makes it a little bit difficult for those people. But then I do also think, playing devil's advocate for that, I do think a lot of athletes don't put themselves out there. Like if
Yeah.
you're an athlete and you're not promoting yourself on Instagram and you've not got content out there to explain who you are and what you're all about, then expecting the commentary team to know you and be able to like say things about you that are relevant is a big ask. And again, that's the same for Google Forms. Like whenever they send out Google Forms before a comp, if you haven't filled that out and then you're annoyed because the commentary team don't know anything about you, like you can't be like that's their job. If they don't have the information in front of them, they're not going to troll for Instagram. I've done it loads where, like, especially when I first started doing commentary, and I would have to go through everyone's Instagram, find out who they are, scroll through, look for like videos at comps to see how they'd done previously. It's fucking time consuming, like really time consuming. And then still you usually get it wrong because like you're
Yeah, because you've
guessing what
looked
the
at
good
about
parts are.
200 Google Forms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
So
it's
what you're saying is, if you want to be seen, you gotta.
got to put yourself
So
out
if we
there,
want
haven't you?
less name dropping, then we need people to drop their own names.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this is the whole sort of reason for the podcast as well, is that we can give everybody, like, literally the rules for this podcast are you're a strong woman, and that's with outside of being in the sport as well. Like, I don't care whether you do strong woman properly or not. And that's literally all that you need to get on this podcast. So, like, you can come on whenever. It's like, and that the hope is that it creates a platform for people to start being like, oh yeah, like this is me, this is what I'm all about. This gives you a bit of like reference to who and context to who I am.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I went on a bit of a rant there,
I don't
but
mind rants here.
but I suppose ultimately, and we do run novice comps. Like I run something called the Strongwoman League that's for beginners and novices. Well, we call it beginners. Some people call it first timers. And yeah, we see actually so much talent coming up, and it's super exciting. And it is great when these people, have somebody to look up to, somebody like yourself. But I do feel that we need to keep it accessible and it not become like a boys' club a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I'm
all.
with you on that. I'll also add that I think commentary, you need to have a bit of an understanding about strongman. If you're just watching someone going, wow, that was really good. Oh,
Yeah.
try again. Come on, you can do it. Oh, that was really good. That was amazing. I think,
Yeah.
come on, add a bit of context in, explain
Yeah,
what's going
that's
on,
it. That's it.
like
Yeah, I want to
explain the
know
event.
like why it's not going well.
Yeah,
And that's engaging also for the listener. You don't have to be like, hugely into strongman to appreciate like the technical details. It could actually in
yeah,
fact help people understand what makes it such a unique sport.
100%.
Yeah, I don't care if you've just been having tea with Mitch Hooper. I want to know what's actually going on in front of me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Any other bugs to bear within strongman? I've got some
Right, no, I'm
questions
just kidding. That's
that
me.
might add some bugs to bear. Well, one of the questions that I did want to ask you. So I know that you've obviously you do the natty pathways and you've gone through the full natty pathway. Now you might straight away be like, "You just don't pay attention to me." Have you done any untested?
Once and it went terribly.
So why do you not do untested comps?
Do you know what? It just hasn't happened. I was actually chatting to Tatiana about this the other day. So what I did was I did the natty pathway my first year competing because I was 57, and that was only 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2024, I wanted to do 64s. I had to fill out, still trying. And I wanted to do that really, really well. My aim was to podium at 64s. That was in the summer. In the February, I did the European Pro Comp, European Pro Strongman, and
Yeah.
it was a disaster. I think honestly, like there only ended up being 5 of us, and I was the only natty there. And I was light as fuck. I was probably like 59, 60 kilos because I just cut like 2 months before to 57. It was pretty much all max weights for me. And I was nervous because I didn't know any of these people. Like, it was a huge step up. Yeah, I think I kind of talked myself out of it. But anyway, like, I was sick in the prep. It was just a disaster. Everything that went wrong could have went wrong
Yeah.
on the day. And that didn't necessarily put me off. I think it was actually a good experience. As I said, I don't think I got the experience early enough of being beaten, which sounds, again, like an obnoxious thing to say, but I do think that that would have been much better for me. I'm now in a good place with that. But anyway, that was a train wreck. And then I just said, right, I want to commit the rest of the year to doing well as a 64 in the natties. I want a podium, and then I'll be happy with that. And then I'll maybe mix it up a wee bit more and do some different comps. But that didn't happen. I was fourth. So this year I was like, right, this has to happen. And then once we've done that, then we'll kind of do some different bits and bobs. Because usually what I've done the last, like, well, this will be the third year in a row, is like Scotland's, UK's, Worlds, and then the record breakers and a team comp, which is fun. And it's kind of worked out quite nicely for me. To be honest, I would do OSG Worlds this year, but I want to go to Japan because I'm going to be 30 and I just want to go. So that's it.
That's that's very fair.
That's
I'd probably rather go to Japan than OSG, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Why do you ask? It's an interesting question. I've been asked a lot.
I was just interested because I just thought you had some beef with Official Strongman, to be honest, and I was hoping to get it, but that was basically it.
No, I've not got beef with Official Strongman. I've been with Stephen when he's competed, and I know that he doesn't love like the long waits between events and stuff like that. So I think initially that probably would have put me off. And also, I just wouldn't have been strong enough when I was like 57. I was just so small. So yeah, I would definitely think about it now. It's something that I'm thinking about for next year, just to mix it up and give my year a slightly different structure. The other thing is I don't recover too well between comps, so they kind of have to be spread apart. Like, I don't think I'd be able to do multiple pathways in the same year. It takes me like a while to mentally and physically recover.
You're very sensible like that, aren't you? I've not got that yet. I just do all the comps all of the time.
I just get so fried, Becca. I just don't understand how people can do it. Like, I'll consistently like fail like 30 kilos under what I pull in competition like 2 weeks before a comp, and then that's just my body. It's just like, nah, we're done.
Yeah.
So
no, I feel you. I'm like
a big
that.
fat open.
Literally 2 weeks before comp's my cut-off point, when I'm like, this is shit now, not doing this anymore, I'm done. This is why I've started doing like 4-week comp preps or 3-week comp preps, because I'm like, I've not got enough time to get shit.
Yeah. Well, we've got like 9-10 weeks until UK's, and I had an absolute fucking mare of a session today, so it's getting longer and longer.
Getting yourself ready for it. That's
it. But yeah, no beef with Official Strongman. We'll do one at one point.
I was just wondering. I like to find out the gossip, don't I? Yeah. No, it's this is literally it. Just finding out everyone's drama, to be honest. But it's all part of the fun and games.
No drama. Same with Brits. Like, I would gladly do like the Unbreakables pathway as well, but it's always like a week before or after Scotland and UK's and stuff, and I've just got some priorities. I've got a comeback from last year's mistakes.
Yeah. I think that's hard though, and it's interesting that, like, I wanted to ask you as well about how you've dealt with losing. So I know you said obviously you came in the first year and like won everything and sort of got that on a bit of a pedestal almost. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what it seemed to me. And then that sort of step down of not having that, like, I've had this feeling as well where you're like, I deserve to have this like win, and then when it doesn't happen, you're like, what the fuck's happened here? Like, I feel like part of your identity is just not right. And like that for me, like, it's taken me having to do comps and having to lose or going into them knowing I'm not going to do particularly well, which has made me more settled with that feeling and knowing that feeling is what longevity feels like in this sport.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to be at the top of my game all the time. So
Yeah.
I need to get used to not being at the top of my game and taking the L sometimes. So
Yeah.
how did you find that? How's that process been for you?
I feel like I'm in a really good place with that now, but honestly, Worlds like last year, I think it took me quite a while to recover and like mentally. Um, if I'm honest, I think what probably has happened is in the first year, I thought, look on reflection, last year, I think I was looking back to when I was a 57 thinking I didn't make any mistakes. I was a much better competitor then. Um, but what really happened was I was making mistakes, but I was getting away with those mistakes. And I think that that's something I would tell anybody else who's moving up a weight classes. Don't look back because you're a different you're in a different pool of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the points are going to be all over the place, and it went from me trying to like collect first places at Worlds 23 to last year, and which I wasn't mentally prepared for, like just being happy with being in the kind of top portion for most of the events, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think when I wasn't didn't win an event or wasn't second or third as I'd kind of anticipated, it threw me into complete disarray. And I was like, and then I was much worse for wear for the following events. So I think that I became a worse performer because I wasn't prepared to drop points. So I think it's putting yourself in different environments early on so that you have a better genuinely just have a better understanding of how the point system actually works, so
Mm-hmm.
that you're not like panicking to try and bag as many first places as you want, because at some point that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
um and it's okay to let someone else have that event. Do you know what I mean? Like you have that deadlift, like let's see what
Yeah.
happens when we get to the overhead or the sandbags or whatever. um yeah. So, but I feel quite level about that now. As I say, it took a while to kind of come back from that mentally,
Yeah.
longer than
Yeah.
I care to admit.
I feel like Natty Worlds was a pressure for a lot of us last
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Didn't
Yep.
go particularly well
I think we had
for
a
a lot of
joint
people.
cry on the stair at one point, maybe.
I would imagine so. I did a lot of crying that day, a lot of crying because it was fucking ridiculous.
It
But
was rough.
yeah,
That frame hurt a lot of feelings.
oh god, it hit a lot of my feelings and my lower back too. But
Yup.
I just think, yeah, I think Natty Worlds last year. I think a lot of us were coming in from Europe's, which was way too fast of a turnaround. Now looking at it,
Yeah.
I say that now I've signed up for 2 back-to-back comps within a one weekend now, but that's another story for another day. But I do think, like as well, Natty Worlds was a shocker for me with how deep the classes were, with how much
Yeah.
like depth was
Compared
added.
to the year before, yeah, it was really like this is something I've spoken to Stephen about. Like Worlds the first year was like UK's. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Really and truly, it was UK's. It
yeah,
was the
yeah,
same people, especially in the 57s where it's quite a small field anyway, and it's
yeah.
really still growing in quality. Like this year is going to be so much more exciting.
Hmm.
Um, and then even last year was pretty much the same kind of group. But yeah, last year was completely different ball games. You had the Aussies coming over, you had Americans in there, all
Yeah,
kinds of all kinds of people
yeah. It
stirring
was
the
just
pot. So
so much bigger, wasn't it?
yeah,
Such a good turnout for a competition, really, and
yeah,
like so much growth from year on year. And I think that caught a lot of people out. It caught me out. I was like, "Fuck, I've got no chance." Fucking hell.
yeah. And you can get in your own way as well with like the social media stuff. I had a young friend go to OSG as like a junior.
Hmm.
This year just passed, and he said to me, "Oh, have you got any advice?" And the week before, he'd been really hyped, and he'd been like, "I don't see me losing to anybody." And I said to him, like, he was like, "Just based on what I've seen online." And I said to him, "Well, I thought that I had like a really high chance of being third, based on like the times I'd actually like timed a couple people's like
Hmm.
yokes and different
Yeah.
things like on their stories, and been like, I'm so much faster than them."
Yeah.
And then got smashed on the day. So I said to him, don't compare somebody else's like bog standard day to your like best day, because you're going to get shaken. Like I was like, and that's not me saying that you're not going to do well, it's just me saying like prepare yourself, because it's one thing to have your like event have the best version of your event and compare that, but can you string 8 of them together
Yeah.
and do your best on all 8? Because it was the same at the European Pro Comp. I was like, oh, I'm hitting all the numbers and like these are my targets, but I don't think I'd really considered how much it would zap me doing them
Mm-hmm.
all together. And I think it was the same at Worlds last year as well. So you just have to have a higher, like, you just have to be stronger. You just have to have
Yeah.
more of a surplus, so it zaps you less. You've got
Yeah.
more left for each event as it comes.
Yeah.
That's it.
100%. No, I totally agree. I think that's a very big thing within like training and programming as well. Is like, I know that you program quite a lot of events for people, and like well, my coach is very similar, Molly. Like, I do a lot of events, and it means that when I do go to comps, because my training sessions are mainly events, I don't feel that tired, because my
Yeah.
training at one training session I could do 3 or 4 events in a row. The
Yeah.
second day do the same thing again, and it means that you're backing up those events all the time with other events, and you're used to transitioning between the different events.
Yeah.
So I do think that's an integral part of training. If you're just doing one maximal lift in your training sessions, and then, or like your top set or whatever it is, but then going and doing loads of accessory work, it's not really going to carry over to a competition day.
Yeah, you're not going to feel prepared, and you've been to a lot of these natural comps as well. Like the turnarounds can be quite quick.
Yeah.
So if you're still catching your breath, good luck,
Yeah.
because Becca Morgan has just done 500 meters on a Husafell carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're up.
Well, this is the thing, and I do think that that makes a massive difference. And we're in a world now where comps are getting faster. Like, if I go to a comp now and it takes all day, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, no, I'm not having an hour, 2 hours,
Yeah,
3 hours between events. I want to be done out and over in 3 hours. Like, that's it. And I do think training for that is really important, and you can tell
yeah.
straight away the people that don't do that training.
Yeah, I had a client last week be like, "Oh, I'm so worried that I'm not going to be fit enough for UKs," and I was like, "Really? Because you're taking about 10 minutes between sets, you can't be that worried."
Yeah, so cut your wait times down. Let's get on with it, pal.
Like, I see what's going on here, guys.
Yeah.
And then I've been like, no one talk to her. Don't.
Yeah. And how did you find the progression then from coaching, like just general PTing, into coaching strongman? How did you sort of get into that, and how are you finding that?
I think I found it quite natural because I was PTing for quite a while before then anyway. I certainly, well, as most strongman coaches, started with like novices, beginners, and then as you collect people and build a bit more, what do I want to say? Yeah, like build people's respect
Yeah.
and trust, you'll pick up others who maybe have already got a wee bit of experience, and that'll like escalate and escalate, obviously. So I'm still, going through that process, obviously, as all of us coaches are and will always be. But yeah, I found it quite a natural transition. Obviously, I mentioned before that like I'd started training at Stephen's gym. He then asked me to come and work with him, and I took some strongman classes for him, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
built up from there. I think that there is a little bit of a misconception about being a good athlete and that making you by proxy a good coach. The two, aren't necessarily the same.
Yeah.
I know a lot of great coaches that aren't fantastic athletes, and vice versa. So, yeah, I think that it's just obviously initially you use like your own success and stuff, and with certain lifts in particular, like people think I'm decent at log, so I'll get a lot of questions about that, and then I'll tend to take people on who really struggle with overhead. That
Yeah.
happens probably the most off that's probably the most common case of client I'll get. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was quite natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I want to say is I think it comes down to people skills and being a good communicator, and honestly just being invested, because when you are invested, you're checking their true coaches like every day, being like, have they done that session yet? I wonder how they got on, and
Yeah.
whatnot, because you want to know and you want to tweak things and make sure that you're giving them all the tools they need.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I
And
love
that
that.
comes before being a sport. That's just human. yeah, that's who you are as an individual, I think.
Yeah, well, providing a good service for
Yeah,
the prices that you're charging as well. I think if you feel
that's
like
it. Yeah.
someone's invested in you as a coach, then you take it more seriously as well, because there's somebody else there that's holding you accountable and is invested in what you're doing.
Yeah. That's it. It's building those relationships as well. Like you want to work with someone who can say to you, like who can speak quite frankly to you, or at least
Hmm.
that's the way that I am with um, most of my clients. And some of them I'm now, well, most of them I'm now like blessed to call friends as well, because you are very transparent and you're like, look, I think that didn't go well because of this,
Yeah,
and you pick up on things, and you get to know each other very, very well.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, this has led us on perfectly to my next question then, which is you're in a very unique situation where when you first started, you were getting coached by Stephen, your partner,
Yeah.
and then you dropped him and went with somebody else. So,
In the bin.
so, so I just wanted to ask you about that, really, to be honest. Like, how did you find being coached, one, by your partner, and two, how did you let him down gently when you were like, you're a shit coach, Stephen, I need someone else?
You know what? It actually was quite hard because he did such a good job. But I think we were both thinking it. So when we started training together, he wasn't my boyfriend. So
Hmm.
we had been working together before we were together.
Yeah.
And that was general strength stuff, and there wasn't that much pressure on it. I was getting better quite quickly. He was doing a good job. And then we started living together and all that, and it was all still good. And then when I started competing, because he's quite intense, I'm quite intense, too intense. I want to say ginger. I'm not actually a real ginger, but two hot headed humans. It just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't healthy. And we've got a really, really healthy, nice, lovely relationship, and I
Hmm.
think we both just decided that in order for us to maintain that, the coaching side had to go at least until I wasn't so intense, which you never know. A couple of years down the line, it might be an option for us again,
Yeah.
but certainly not any time in the near future.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough. It was on the lead up to the first natural world. So summer 2023.
Hmm.
And we both just got agreed like this isn't working. There was a lot of like fighting in the gym and stuff like that. And yeah, it's hard when you live together and when it means a lot to you, because I'd be coming home and being like, oh, what about this? What about that? And he's trying to chill out, and I'm basically asking him to do his job. So
Yeah.
yeah, it might be different, as I say, a couple of years down the line, but it wasn't working. So anyway, on the run up to Worlds, we both agreed that it would be healthy to change that basically afterwards. And so Stephen kind of helped me when I was looking for people to go to. We did a little bit of like research together, and he would make suggestions. And also as a coach, part of the selection process for a coach is what you're going to learn from them that you can take
Hmm.
with you and apply to your own clients. So I wanted to work with someone who was quite different from Stephen. We also figured out that I personally don't respond well to like I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. Basically, sometimes I would do something badly, and Stephen would be like, "That was shit," and I'm very self-critical, very very self-critical.
Yeah.
So at least at that time, that wasn't working for me,
Hmm.
and so I wanted to work with someone who communicates slightly differently.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot from both of those sides, and I've probably found that I've met somewhere in the middle when it comes
Hmm.
to my own coaching style. But yeah, Stephen helped me find Lee Shaw, who I now work with. He's very, very good
Hmm.
sound guy. He's in Australia, so it's a different kind of setup that we've got, but it works really well. And I've been working with him basically since the back end of Natty Worlds 23.
Nice. Yeah. That's really cool. I like that as well. And I think it's interesting that like you sort of worked out with Stephen how you responded to coaching and what you were sort of looking for. And I also love the fact that you've gone with someone who was like completely different to gain that experience. And I do think that's huge. Like I'm not a big believer in people swapping coaches like every like couple of months, because I just think
Yeah,
with that you never build that rapport, you never get that understanding with that person. But I do believe like if you've done a couple of years with somebody and you're thinking, actually, I could do with a bit of a change up here, I could do with a bit of a move, I do
Mm.
think as long as it's done respectfully, then it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to change over with coaches.
Yeah,
But
and
you need
people
to give them that
understand as
time.
well, especially when they've been doing it for a long time. They understand that you want to grow in different ways and you might want to try different things, both as a coach and as an athlete. But like you say, it's amazing the growth that you get with somebody if you stick with them. And I know you've obviously had that with Molly. I've got a couple of clients who have
Yeah,
trained since their first day in the gym, and that I still work with now, like 7, 8 years later, who are now very, very strong. And you know exactly, you probably know better than they do, like how their body works and responds to stuff. And that's so
yeah,
powerful. And you can just, yeah, really keep growing from there. So, yeah,
yeah.
pros and cons to both, really. But yeah, I think especially as a coach, it's important to refresh that every now and again.
Oh yeah, 100%. I know when Jenny's done different comp preps, she's done like a comp prep with Josh, she's done a comp prep with Dan Hipkiss, and she says like she loves that different sort of stimulus and working out
Yeah.
how they're coaching, and then that impacts the way that she's then coaching, and it's just all around good, isn't it? It's like you're getting continuous professional development all the time.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. And you're paying for it, but it's benefiting you in two departments as
Yeah,
well. And then you're almost putting together like a patchwork of, what your coaching is, and you'll steal bits from there,
yeah,
knowingly or unknowingly.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it's
yeah,
just like periodization, kind of systems and whatnot.
yeah. No, I love that. Cool. Right.
Cool. Good questions, Becca.
So
You
I just
are a
get carried away
professional.
sometimes, carried away. Right, well, back on track then. So, what would
Okay.
you say to yourself when you first started Strongwoman?
I think I wrote this down, but I don't remember what I wrote.
Oh
What
no,
would I say to myself when I started? Because I was like, I'm going to get sidetracked. Write down some logical conclusions to things.
it's always the way.
Um, I think I would say to myself, um, not to take it so seriously, which
Hmm.
I'd been told a million times by everyone else. So I'm not sure whether or not I would actually listen to myself.
Yeah,
I think I actually wrote a post as well, which is still probably valid to some extent, about you getting to decide how serious it is to you, which is true. And I think it's uncool when it's like, oh, it's just a hobby, because for most of
yeah,
us it does mean more than that.
yeah.
And we should be able to, yeah, express that.
Hmm.
But I think maybe me now would be able to be say to younger me, it's not going to make you any better to be this intense, because I think I thought that because I was meeting it with that energy, that's why I was
Hmm.
getting the results. But that
Yeah,
wasn't actually the case, as we discovered at the team comp, when I just let loose a little bit and
yeah,
actually had a really great day. So I think it's just understanding that you don't need to be that person to get the same outcomes. You can, limber up a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think I do agree. I think it's important to take it seriously, but we have to remember like it's a hobby at the end of the day, and it is
Yeah.
like we don't you try not to say that in a way that is condescending and like,
Yeah.
oh, we shouldn't
Yeah.
try hard at that, but it is, and sometimes you do have to take that step back and go, actually, I'm sacrificing a lot here for
Yeah.
the potential of a plastic trophy. Like,
Yeah.
is it
And I think
worth it or is it not?
I think you really just have to be like secure enough in yourself as a person and an athlete to remind yourself that you don't need to take yourself that seriously within it, but you almost have to go through those steps of thinking that you're a huge deal or putting too much pressure on yourself or whatnot before you can kind of come out the other side and be like, you're a twat.
Absolutely.
Let
Yeah.
relax a bit.
Absolutely. I feel
um,
like that's the natural progression, strong, like journey in strongman, isn't it? Is that you do pretty well and you're like, oh shit, I'm fucking good at this. And then you're like, oh wow, this is way too stressful. I can't keep this level of intensity up. I'm going to have to drop back. And then you're like, oh,
fall from
I'm just
grace.
doing it for fun.
Yeah, and there has to be a sweet spot where it is important to you, but your life is also important to you. Like otherwise, we're just not the people are just going to keep dropping off forever until we have no athletes left. People should be able
Yeah.
to like take a month off and go traveling, and it not be like, oh, well, I can't do strongman anymore because I'm going traveling. It's like, well, yeah, you can. Just do both. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a perfect prep. It doesn't, we all know that a perfect prep doesn't mean it's going to be perfect on the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do it all. I mean, I think that actually having moved further out of the city, being more like family orientated and whatnot at the moment, has actually done my mindset wonders as well, because it isn't my entire personality. And at the end of the day, like, strongman's not going to feed my dogs. It's not going to feed my fur
Yeah.
babies. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. Having stuff
yeah, use
outside
it.
of the sport, I think, is important in it.
Yeah, and people as well, friends that aren't necessarily um, sucked up by it. Like most of my best friends don't even really understand what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I have that quite a lot where like people are just like, you do what? You've won what? You who? Like they
They
just don't
try,
fucking
they
care.
try. They ask all the right questions, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, they're like, "Cool, you go do that, and then we'll hang out like normal people."
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think it's just important to have that. Well, it's great having the
Yeah,
friends in the sport, having people outside and life stuff
who don't
outside.
know what your trophies mean.
Yeah. Who don't care. Who just don't
Yeah, they
care.
don't
And
care.
it keeps you grounded if for nothing else. That's all you need, isn't it?
Yup. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Trying different stuff as well. Do BJJ,
Yeah.
Go for a run.
100%.
Do whatever you want to do. You don't
Yeah.
have to just do strongman. You can take a little break, come back
Yeah.
to it. You're probably still going to be just as strong.
100%. I think if anything, like a lot of the times when I take time off and I come back to it, I almost appreciate how strong I actually am. Like I haven't trained since England, so it's been like 4 weeks or something, just because I've just been too busy, and I've done my normal like BJJ training, bit of cardio, keep myself fit and healthy and all that
Yep.
sort of stuff. And I did my first session back last night, and like I was able to rep 120 kilo deadlift with like no kit. I was able to overhead press 65, 70 kilos with no kit. And I thought, I've not lost anything. And if anything, I was like, fucking get on, lass. Well done, you. Well done. I thought this was going to be a fucking trot. Like all my sets, my overhead
Yeah.
sets, I was starting with 40 kilos because I thought I wasn't going to be able to press it. And you're like, you crackhead, man. Of
Yeah.
course you
I
can.
injured my back and couldn't deadlift for like properly for like months, maybe like 3-4 months. And then I hit a PB like a month after I was better. And I was like, what's even the point of deadlifts? Like
Yeah.
you like
I'll just stop doing
that's
them.
same with stones. Don't do stones for a year. Hit a stone PB immediately. Like what's
Yeah.
even the point?
100%. You can retain so much once you've built that base. Like
Yeah.
like it's so easy to retain it on very minimal effort, and I think that's something that everyone can sort of learn and take that step back and go, do you know what? Actually, if I don't train for a month, who fucking cares? It's not going to make no difference to me in the long run.
Yep. That's
But
it.
love that. Right, let's move on to our silly goose then, because this has actually been a very long podcast, but I love it.
Well, I wasn't sure how long it was going to be, and then I saw the time, and I was like, "Is that
God
okay?"
damn, oopsie. Nah, when I first started this podcast, I was like, I'm only going to do 20, 30-minute episodes. Every single one has been over 40 minutes. Every single, some of them are hitting over an hour, and I'm like, oh, shit. But people keep listening, so,
Your tea's getting cold.
oh, God, honestly. Every night our lad at the moment is like, he'll say to me, when do you think you'll be finished? When do you think? I'm like, 7:30ish. Get to 7:30. Like, your tea's bloody ready, or he'll be texting me, tea's ready. And I'm like, sorry, I'm busy. I've got shit to
Starlink,
do.
no internet. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm like, just hang on. I'll put it in the microwave. No, you can't do that. It's bloody hell on every night, but I'm a princess, me, so I don't care.
I love that. I love that behaviour.
But yeah, right, on to our silly goose.
Silly goose. It's silly goose time, where our lips get loose and our minds run free. Silly goose. It's silly goose time, where we chat a load of shit that's of absolutely no use. It's silly goose time.
So this is one that I've been thinking of for a while, to be honest. And there's two parts to this. So I want to know first, if you were a farmer, like a high-profile farmer, what would you like to farm? What would be your farming interest?
Can it cover like animals and like vegetables and plants and everything. Like I can farm anything.
Yep. Any form of agriculture that you can think of.
Oh, Becca, that's a hard one. I would farm.
I can go first because I've already thought
I
of it,
think
because obviously I think about it a lot.
I love animals. I do love animals. Um, I would probably farm chickens because I've had chickens before. They're cute. Not for meat, for eggs, by the way.
Okay,
And
fair.
then I just have loads of cool chickens afterwards. Um, not for me. Would I sell them on for that? Oh, I'd probably name them and stuff. I don't know if I could do that. I would
Oh
just have
no.
loads of eggs.
Just have fucking loads of eggs. Are you
Loads of eggs.
vegetarian? Are you
I
vegetarian?
was for about 7 years, and then I switched over to the dark side. I just walked into a cafe one day and ordered a BLT, and that was me.
Hang on a minute, we need to talk about this then. What on earth happened there? This sounds like
I
an
don't
interesting
know.
story.
Honestly, I hadn't even really been planning it. It wasn't like I'd been like sitting on it for a while or anything. I it was I was veggie for quite a while.
And
I
what was your
think
reason for being a vegetarian in the first place?
I was brought up vegetarian, and
Fair.
then but I was a little fat kid, like toddler, and I would always like go into the kitchen and like try and get in the fridge and like steal the ham and stuff. So my dad was like, "Oh, just let her have it. It's fine." So I started eating meat, and then when I went to university, I studied philosophy, so I was like dead deep in meaningful and stuff. So I had to stop eating meat again. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, legit reason. And then I was training a lot, and do you know what? I think probably in the back of my mind, I was just a bit sick of eating like processed foods. I once heard somebody say, like, if you go to a corn factory, you'll never eat corn again. And so I was like, oh. And I started looking at these like vegetarian sausages and stuff, and I was like, but what is it? Like, what
Yeah.
actually? Like when you're like thinking
What's
about
in
it,
this?
what are you?
Yeah.
So I fucked that off, and yeah, I just was like, I want a BLT. That's what I had, and then yeah, that's been me ever since.
What was you like? Was there a couple of days build up or a week build up? I'm
No,
I'm
no build
absolutely
up,
intrigued.
no
Was it just a
zero.
literal like you've walked into a cafe, saw a BLT, and you went, yeah, it's
That
time.
was literally it. Do you know, it was a really nice day. And like my old gym, like I had a wee studio and it was right on the waterfront pretty much. It was just around the corner from this cafe and it was so sunny. So I just ordered it and I sat and I ate it. And while I was eating it, I was thinking, am I thinking about a dead animal right now? Not really, to be honest.
Fair.
So yeah. Whereas before I would be like, oh, I can't walk down the meat aisle.
Yeah, fair. No,
So
I totally understand this. I feel like people think that I have a big problem with vegans and vegetarians, which I actually don't. I'm
yeah.
100%. If people don't want to eat meat or whatever other animal products, that's totally fine. But, and this is a big but, you have to have a genuine reason. And if that is that you don't agree with killing animals, totally fair. I'm totally behind that. But if you're okay with the death of animals, you still eat meat, but then you're gonna bitch and moan at me for like killing or hunting my own meat, then I'm gonna tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, I get that. I think when I was studying and whatnot, I was it was just that classic age when you're like becoming aware of the world, and I think I was learning a lot about actually like the footprint of
Yeah,
meat and stuff. But then you know, like anything, the more you understand, the more difficult it is to actually make a decision or have an opinion on anything because you're like,
yeah,
oh, there's so many facets
yeah,
to this. So actually, like over time, I started to understand that you know it's a bit more complicated than that. And importing lots of avocados also has a big
yeah.
footprint and soybeans. So I was going to say to you, oh, maybe I would be a soy farmer, but then that like kind of fucks the land that it's fertilized on and whatnot. So yeah, you really can't win, can you?
No, no, you can't win with any opinion
You just got to
nowadays.
be nice
It's
to people. That's literally it.
just got to be nice. You've just got to be nice. You've got to have some decent-ish morals,
Not
decent-ish.
hard.
Yeah, then it's really not that hard. But yeah,
It's
no,
not hard.
I like that. It's interesting that I do. I love a bit of a vegan vegetarian discussion.
Yeah, it's a complex one. As long as people are open to hearing both sides and whatnot, then it can
Yeah,
be a nice discussion. It can be a good discussion.
100%. I totally agree, and I do think like I'm one of these people where if that's your opinion, then that's totally valid, fair. We can agree to disagree, but like that's just part of being a fucking adult, really, isn't it? Like learning that
Yeah.
other people are going to have different opinions, and that is okay.
I'm just glad I didn't get vegan tattooed on my forehead. That would have been a mistake. That'll meet my BLT.
Ben's favourite thing to say is that you always know when someone's a vegan because they'll always tell you
Does he say that to you every day?
all
Does
the
he tell you that
time.
joke every day?
All the time. The minute vegans are mentioned.
While you're reheating your cold dinner.
Yeah. The minute a vegan is mentioned, that's his first thing. You always know when if someone's a vegan. I'll tell you. I think. Well, yeah.
Yeah. What would you farm?
I would farm cows, but that is only because I have been watching Yellowstone and I am obsessed. I hate horses, but I would ride one to cowboy cows around because I just think that is fucking cool as. And my sister's also a shepherd, so
That's cool.
yeah, she's pretty cool. Like, she's a bit of a knobhead, but she is cool. And she has a dog that she's now using and training on her cows because she's got belted Galloways as well as sheep. And I've watched some videos of that, and it's actually really, really cool. Like, I don't want to tell her it, but it's really cool. It's a really good dog.
You can't acknowledge when your siblings have done something that's actually cool. No, out of the question.
I was round at hers on Sunday, and we were with a couple of my cousins and that, and we were chatting about like our relationship, and we've had a strange relationship over the years. But I always bring up the story when I try to explain people to, like, my sister to other people, which is when a few years ago now I went to New Zealand for like a holiday was what meant to be my mates, and my cousin Aaron ended up coming and my sister Carrie, because they never really travelled, and it was like a chance for them to come out, travel a little bit with me and like have a bit of a nice holiday. And Carrie was in a very interesting place in her life, fell out with me massively during this holiday, big time falling out. And I'd booked all of the tickets, I'd booked everything, and she'd said, right, I'm leaving, I'm going home, I'm getting our dad to book us another flight. You need to give me a booking reference so I can rebook a different flight. And I went, whatever, have it, see you later. And I vividly remember saying to her, make sure you do not cancel my fucking flight when you cancel this booking.
Oh, no.
You can already see where this is going.
Oh, no.
I finished my holiday, lovely times with Aaron, got to the airport, booked in, fucking 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I'm on this flight. Aaron checked in, no bother, me. I'm on this flight. No, your booking's been cancelled. I was like, of course it fucking
has. Were you at least
has.
somewhere nice? Did you get to stay somewhere nice for a few days?
No, because I was in New Zealand and Aaron had only ever flown once, which was on the flight out to New Zealand with me. So now he's panicking because he thinks he's flying 24 hours home on his own. He's like, how the fuck am I managing these airports on my own? I was like, I'm crying because I'm like, fuck, I don't want to live in New Zealand. I've got things to do at home.
You of this every time you see her.
Oh, yeah, I do, all the time. And what's even funnier now is whenever I mention it, she's like, I never did it.
Just denial.
I'm like, fine, whatever you think. I had to get a fucking Australian visa. I had to apply for a visa because I was flying back into Australia to get home, and I didn't have a flight home. So they were like, well, we can't let you in Australia. You'll have to get a visa. I had to leave through customs.
Thinking about Aaron.
She wasn't thinking about
Aaron. She was not thinking about Aaron.
I nearly got kicked out of customs in Australia as well, coming out of the airport. So I stood in the customs queue, and our mum rang us. And like, I hadn't told anybody at this point. I was just fucking past myself. I was so angry. And she'd rang me and she was like, "Hi, I'm just checking how your flights are going." And I fucking lost it, me on the phone. That silly bastard cancelled. And the policeman who was like in the customs came over and was like, "You can't behave like that here."
After you looked like a skinhead.
Oh no, this was much before, where I still looked like a normal girl, so I was getting like normal blonde girl privilege still, so I was allowed to behave like a bit more of a knobhead. Whereas now, I don't have that privilege. I behave like a knobhead, and someone will take me down, won't they? I'll get shot. Strange relationship. But...
yeah, I understand the sister thing. I've got how old's my sister? 21, 22, something like that. And she's always been really into taxidermy, which I think is creepy. But most people go, oh, that's cool. Which makes me even more think it's creepy.
Well, this is much worse for you because my house is filled with taxidermy.
I can imagine. Like, when you're a teenager and your little child sister gives you a dead bird for your birthday, you're thinking, that this is definitely in at least 6 horror movies I've seen.
Yeah, you're keeping an eye on her because you're like, this is not childhood stuff.
When my gran died, she asked if we could stuff her.
She'll hate that you've said this on this podcast.
We had to explain that was not.
No, human taxidermy is a little bit different.
No.
Oh, well, I've got some good taxidermy contacts if she wants some contacts. I know some people. Yeah.
I'll let her know.
I have a wild collection of taxidermy. I can't stop myself.
And I'll know that it's all gone horribly wrong when I get a taxidermied Becca Morgan for my 30th.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. No. It'd be horrifying. Anyway, well, quickly then, before we go, did you have a silly goose? Because I didn't even ask you. I just shot the one at you. Oh,
I didn't. I was just praying that you wouldn't ask me anything about the Bermuda Triangle because I saw how that went for.
Do you know anything about the Bermuda Triangle?
No, definitely not. But I'm obsessed with the TV show Lost, so anything like that that's a wee bit weird is definitely I should probably endeavour to find out about.
Yeah, see, I couldn't get into Lost, but I feel like I could now. I need to try it again as an adult. When I watched it, I was too young, I think. It was boring.
Yeah, I think if you can see past like how the effects have aged and some of the acting, then it's yeah. Okay. It was the beginning of a lot of storytelling, a lot of kind of. Well, they were the first people to do like the flash backwards and forwards, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember it being so big when we were younger, but I'm still on the hunt for a Bermuda Triangle specialist though. So if anyone's listening and they're like, "Fucking help me," let me know. I'm still asking. Yeah, I'm at a point now where I feel like I'd go to the Bermuda Triangle on holiday just to see what it was like. I'm intrigued by it.
I'm sure I watched a horror movie that was about the Bermuda Triangle once, and it was like 3 boats like ended up in that wee bit. I can't even remember.
I don't want to watch a scary film. I don't watch scary films. I'm too scaredy cat.
That's the point.
No, it's terrifying. I have nightmares.
Keep you alive.
Years, nah. I watched War of the Worlds when I was younger, like the old one. Nightmares for years. I still have nightmares every now and then now about it.
Oh, Becca.
Yeah, not for me. Not for me. Well, on that note, I think we'll finish it before I get any more in depth about myself. I feel like I've talked loads on this. I'm sorry if I've stolen your thunder a bit there, Willow.
The heat from me. When I talk loads, I start going really red, and I get a wee bit worried about what I've actually said. Who I've offended.
Join the fucking club. Every week I post these and think, fucking hell, who's next?
The chopping board.
Who have I pissed off this week? Somebody probably. Get some angry DMs.
If you're pissing people off, you're probably doing something right.
As long as I've pissed Stephen Wiley off, I don't care. That's the only person I wanted to piss off on this podcast.
Off, actually.
To be fair, yes, but
I have been known to be a human raccoon, so I piss him off with that quite successfully.
A human raccoon?
Yeah,
what?
So I leave everything open, like bread, cupboards, doors, everything.
I love to know that about you.
The raccoon's been in.
Such an interesting thing. Why do you do that?
I don't know.
Just to piss him off?
My brain is like, I'll start something and then I'll just start deep cleaning something else. And do you know what I mean? Then I'll be like, I try and multitask, but it's not to great success. So
that's going to be my goal then for Scottish Strength Cup. I'm gonna take on the role of raccoon at Scottish Strength Cup and try and leave everything undone, everything open, piss him off that way.
I'll get you a raccoon mask.
I'll be getting uninvited at this rate, won't I?
The final straw.
Ah, well. Right, so where can people find you then? For coaching, for just general... You post a lot of really good content, actually, on your Instagram pages as well. Your coaching content is really good. I really like it.
Thanks, Becca. So I'm on Instagram as @CoachWillow, so just my name, has a W at the end in case you work at Starbucks. And you'll see in my bio there, my gym is Adapt Strength Gym. So we're up in Edinburgh and we do day passes in case you're looking to get your hands on any Strongman kit. But yeah, just DM if any questions or you just want to chat about the pod.
Wonderful, lovely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It has been a pleasure. And we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
I won't see you next week. Bye.
No. Bye.
See you sometime.
That was a great ending. Thanks. Thanks for listening to this episode of Strongwoman Highs, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to support the podcast, then please give us a follow on Instagram Or if you would like, we're also on buymeacoffee.com/strongwomanhighs. This is where you can send us tips, or you can also join our membership area, which is $5 a month or £4 a month. It's the silly gosling level. We'll post out any extra content that we get on there, and hopefully a few little like free giveaways of things as well. The podcast currently doesn't cost a lot to run, which is what we're trying to keep it as, but we would like to be able to cover our costs, and also once those costs are covered, any profit that is made on Strong Woman Highs will be getting saved up and put into a pot for future Strong Woman competitions that we can sponsor. So if you have a Strong Woman competition that you'd like to be sponsored, or if you want to be on the podcast, then give us a shout, send me a message on Instagram or on YouTube, anywhere else you can get us, and we'll get it sorted, because the more women that we can get on, the better. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye!